When you think about what holds our global world together, you probably think of big things, right? Like trade deals or international treaties. But sometimes it all comes down to one single, super dense line of legal text. So today, we're going to unpack one of those phrases and reveal the hidden machinery that lets justice travel across oceans.
Think about it. It seems like a simple question. If someone in another country, let's say a company in France or a person in Japan, does you wrong, how does a US court even begin to get involved? How do you kick that process off? And maybe more importantly, how do you make sure it's actually fair to everybody?
Well, the answer is buried in what looks like total gibberish, a string of letters and numbers like Certification of Service by FCRP 4F2CCII. I know, it looks impossible to understand, but think of it like a key. Every single part of that code unlocks a different door in the world of international law. And today, we're going to turn that key together.
All right, so to crack this code, we've got to start with the basics. Let's just break down this lingo piece by piece and turn it into plain English.
First up, service. Now, in the legal world, you can't just send a text that says, "Hey, I'm suing you." Nope. Service of process is the formal, official, you can't ignore this delivery of the lawsuit papers. It's basically the required signature delivery for the most important message you could ever get. It creates undeniable proof that the news has been delivered.
Next, we've got that acronym FRCP. That stands for the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The absolute easiest way to think about this is that it's the official rulebook for any lawsuit in a U.S. federal court. It lays out all the plays, all the do's and don'ts for everyone in the game.
So, if FCRP is the rulebook, then that string of numbers, 4F.2.C.II, is like a very, very specific page number and paragraph. It's not just random code. It's a precise address pointing us to the exact rule we need to solve our international problem. And this is where it all just clicks into place. Think of it like directions. Rule 4 is the main highway for all things service. Section F is the specific exit ramp you take for cases in a foreign country. And that last little bit, 2C2, that's the exact street address. It tells the court precisely how to deliver the documents by mail that requires a signature. It's an entire set of instructions packed into one really elegant code.
Okay, so we've decoded the language. That's the what. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through the process when a court puts this rule into action.
It's actually surprisingly straightforward. First, the court clerk, a totally neutral officer of the court, gathers up all the official documents and seals them in a package. Second, they send that package off using international mail that tracks it, and this is the key part, requires a signature. And third, they just wait. They wait for that little signed receipt to make its journey all the way back to the courthouse. Now, that little signed receipt coming back is the trigger for the final and honestly the most powerful step in this entire process, creating the official proof.
Just think about that journey for a second. A package crosses continents, it gets signed, and it travels all the way back. All of that international machinery, all of that effort, it all comes down to the power of one single document that gets created back at the courthouse. And that document is called the Certification of Service. This is the moment where the court clerk officially declares under penalty of perjury, I did it. I followed the rules to the letter, I sent the documents, and here is the signed receipt to prove it. That piece of paper is the proof.
So why is this one piece of paper so important? Well, first, it proves to the judge that the person being sued absolutely knows about the case. Second, it checks that huge, all-important constitutional box called due process, which just means everyone gets a fair shot to defend themselves. And that gives the court the green light to move forward, knowing everything is legally sound.
So we've been deep in the legal weeds. We've deconstructed the jargon. We've walked through the process. But why should any of us care about a rule for international mail? Because its impact is actually enormous. Because at its heart, this isn't really about paperwork. It is a powerful tool for fairness. It makes sure that distance isn't a shield. You can't just hide out in another country to dodge legal responsibility. This is all about leveling the playing field. And let's think even bigger. This little rule is a quiet pillar that holds up global trade. It gives companies the confidence to do business across borders because they know there's a reliable way to solve problems if they come up. It reinforces that massive idea that no one is beyond the reach of the law. And that builds the trust we need for a global legal system to even work at all.
And all of this brings us to a really interesting final question. A system built on physical mail and signed slips of paper, it feels almost old-fashioned in our world of instant messages and emails, right? So, as technology keeps making our planet smaller and smaller, how do these fundamental rules of justice need to evolve? How do we keep the system fair for everyone everywhere in a world that's becoming more and more digital by the second?